council meeting. I'll call it to order, and if you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Gracious God, who has filled the world with beauty in the created order, and the gracious spirit of those who serve others, especially those with needs for safety and for hope. Guide the deliberations of this council to do its work with vision and fairness, that in all we do, give glory to your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1.
Here.
Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5.
Here.
Lori Pruitt, Ward 6. Here.
Thank you, Connie. Our first order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from our October 1st meeting. Council, you've had these well in advance of tonight and had a chance to look them over. Chair will entertain any edits, additions, deletions, corrections, or if there are none, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Diane, you've stolen something from me that I need. Thank you. I wonder where this went. We get to start our meeting tonight by recognizing a very important event this month. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And with us tonight we have members of the Tranquility House. And I'd like to read this proclamation, and then I'll come down and present it to you if you don't mind. This says, whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that affects people of all races, ages, gender, and income levels, and domestic violence is widespread and affects over 4 million Americans each year, and 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime, and whereas Georgia recently ranked 9th in the nation for men killing women due to domestic violence, 29% of cases studied through the Georgia Domestic Violence Fatality Review Project involve children that witnessed domestic violence resulting in violent homicides. Whereas children that grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average. Domestic violence costs the nation billions of dollars annually in medical expenses, police and court costs, shelters, foster care, sick leave, absenteeism, and non-productivity. And whereas only a coordinated community effort will put a stop to this heinous crime, and whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy, services, and assistance to victims. And whereas one such organization is the Christian League of Battered Women, the Tranquility House Domestic Violence Center in Cartersville, celebrating 30 years of service to victims of domestic violence and their children. Now, therefore, I, Matthew J. Santini, Mayor of the City of Cartersville, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge citizens to work together to eliminate domestic violence from our community. And I will be happy to present this to you, Ms. Bruce, and any other members that would like to come down. On behalf of the City of Cartersville, thank you for what you've been doing for 30 years and trying to make life a little better for those that need some help. Where's Rebecca? Where's the camera? Who's got it? Who's got it?
Come on now. There we go, Richard. All right.
Richard. I'll take one, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Not many times on please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You know, we talk about battered women. Is there such a thing as battered men?
I'm sure there are. I would think the percentages are probably a little bit smaller than that.
Well, I worked with a case there in Marietta one time. And if you saw the couple, Willie was a good-sized lady, and Joe was a small man, and they both sung in the choir there in East Point, Georgia. And something went wrong one Sunday, and she took care of it right there in front of everybody. and he filed for divorce. He got it.
We have some, you know, I do this radio thing on the sides. I don't know how to segue out of that. But I guess Chief Carter, you've got this next item?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a privilege to be able to bring before you some positive information that's positive for the fire department, also going to have a positive impact as far as our community is concerned. This evening, we're respectfully requesting that you would accept a grant from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. This grant is in the amount of $22,478. This is a 100% grant that is not requiring any match. The grant was obtained through a competitive process to where we had to show a determined need of an area that we would have as far as firefighter safety or the community safety was concerned, prove cost and effect benefit, and the overall impact to the public safety program here within the city of Cartersville. This grant is to replace all of the firefighters' face piece for the breathing apparatus to bring them up to the current NFPA code and to bring us into the latest greatest with a high temperature. And also, this grant will allow us to purchase 2 additional rapid intervention packs. These are specialized breathing apparatus that are used if we have firefighters go down and they're trapped. This allows us to rescue our own. We want to say that this grant, of course, is going to greatly enhance the safety of our personnel, which in turn allows us to provide a higher level of public service to our community. And we're very thankful to have a community partner such as Firehouse Subs, and they're willing to demonstrate such true care and compassion for our local community. In addition to accepting the grant, this is a non-budgeted item, so we would have to request a budget adjustment dealing with the expenditures and the revenue, receiving of the revenue. In addition, we would go ahead and ask you tonight to approve that the purchase, once grant funds are received from MES Fire Supply for 68 face pieces and 2 Scott Ritt packs from MES for the total of $22,478.
Okay. Questions or any discussion on this?
Tom, do we just adjust this at the end of the year? Do you need it now?
We usually do a budget amendment at the end, but I can do it either way you want to do it.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it less complicated. It might be something we can catch at the end of the year.
Does a motion require a budget amendment at this time, or just approve?
That's why I was asking.
So we just need to approve the acceptance of the grant? All right,
Okay
motion
with
would
you,
be in
as
order.
long as you get the money?
I move that we accept the grant.
I thought I heard you also wanted permission to go ahead and purchase when the funds
Once the funds are
arrive.
received, instead of coming back before council at that time to ask for that purchase, we do know the vendor, we do know the amount, and we are also requesting approval to go ahead and proceed with that
That makes
purchase.
I got you, so it needs to be both. Thank you, Councilman. So your motion would be to accept the grant and to allow for the purchase?
It certainly would be.
Thank you. Would you like
Second.
I'm going to give that second to Ms. Pruitt since she was the one that copied it. You'll have opportunities later.
Absolutely.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a first reading of a rezoning application. Mr. Osborne, if you'll get us started on that.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is located at the intersection of West Avenue and Plymouth Drive. I've highlighted it here. The zoning in this area of West Avenue is medium zoning, OC, and the nearest general commercial zoning district with a general commercial type use is the Ingalls Shopping Center. The use of property for a car wash in the city limits is only allowed in the general commercial zoning district, and the applicant proposes a specific car wash at this site. This is the site of the old Wagon Wheel restaurant, and it has not been the restaurant for approximately 15 years. It's been a variety of things. The building is fairly run down. Our building official, and then at times fire department inspections, has been through that building. Most recently, it's been a tire shop. It's now vacant. The applicant is aware that in addition, not related to zoning, but just for development purposes, this area is low-lying, and so for tearing down the building and constructing a brand new building, There will be additional drainage improvements that will be site-specific that Public Works will work with this applicant or anyone in the future. And the applicant is also aware that the rezoning would up the buffer required adjacent to the residential that is to the south along Mitchell and Plymouth, and that residential area from 20 feet to 25 feet. In terms of, I'll give the train a minute. In terms of how the building would actually look, the applicant has given city staff a couple of just concept examples, but the actual footprint of the building and the exterior design, according to the applicant at this time, is not set in stone. It could be metal, it could be stucco, it could be brick. The applicant has shown different examples. This is just one of them. The applicant is aware of the metal requirement in the, whether it's OC or GC, that a metal building must be finished with something that's non-metal. Planning Commission reviewed the case and recommended approval with one condition, that all the same OC uses be allowed, plus the use of a car wash.
Any questions or discussion at this point?
So no additional general commercial uses, simply OC plus a car wash. That's the planning commission condition?
Correct.
Thank you.
I'm confused because my book says we're going from OC to GC.
Correct. The proposal is rezone from OC to GC. That's the applicant's proposal. Planning Commission recommended approval to rezone from OC to GC, but with one condition, which is only the OC district uses be allowed, plus the use of a car wash. So essentially, it would stay the same medium commercial uses plus that car wash, just because you can't do a car wash in OC. So it has to be rezoned to GC, but with a condition per Planning Commission. That's just their recommendation.
Are we on decent footing with that?
I've never heard of that being done, but, you know, zoning usage restrictions, anything that you can do in an OC, you can do in a GC, plus some things. I mean, they're kind of saying it backwards. Really what they're doing is eliminating all of the usages that are in GC other than a car wash.
Right.
So it's another way of saying the same thing. I don't think it's illegal.
And that means that down the road, 30 years from now, when none of us, you might still be the city attorney, but the rest of us will be retired.
I expect to be here.
That property, if somebody wanted to do something else with it, it would still have the OC zoning attached to it, as opposed to going GC with conditions.
No, it would have GC attached to it with those conditions.
So they'd still have to come before council to do any
Okay.
GCU beyond the car
Okay,
wash.
very good.
Yeah, they'll have to come before the council to ask that condition be removed.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I need to know right now. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you don't need anything else?
Not unless you've got something else to add at this time.
Can I go watch the football team now?
Any other questions for Mr. Osborne at this point?
I'd like to ask about, what are the provisions for buffering? Besides, just the back or alongside too?
For buffering adjacent to residential, which would be on the south property line of this commercial piece, it would be 25 feet. And within that 25 feet, it would be 2 rows of closely planted screening trees, not bushes or something small like that, but typically Leland cypress or something similar, or It could be one row of closely planted trees and a fence. And if it's a fence, it would be a solid screening fence,
But just on the back.
just adjacent to residential. Yes, sir.
Well, by sight line, the house that's on Woodland is impacted.
Where was it?
He's saying the house
Go back one.
that's
Richard, if you
off
don't
of
mind.
Plymouth up will be able to see the piece of property.
Yeah.
It's behind, actually, if you're talking about the, I see what you're saying. At the corner,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
okay. But it would still have a 25-foot buffer between it and that property as well, correct? Because it's across the street,
Well, it'd be more than that.
right, which is what the ordinance calls for.
Oh, I see where.
Since this property, in addition to this, since these two are zone residential, yes, that's correct. The buffer would, you might say, wrap around a little bit of this southeast corner as well. That's correct.
All right?
Richard, you and I talked about this a little bit, and I think you said that a site plan right now would be impossible because it's such a low, in other words, Public Works would have to determine where the building site was. Is that correct?
That's
Excuse me.
correct.
Okay.
And, you know, obviously, the applicants have stated that they love to turn the building and have the building where it's as close to West Avenue as possible, and especially with the loudest part of it, the drying mechanism, the blower, as far away from the houses as possible, but with the parking and the flow of cars stacked up to go through the car wash tunnel, that would be based on utilities, public works, the entire site would be reviewed.
But per planning commission, I don't know where I was told this or notes, but hours of operation for what he's doing is he'll be shut down at 6 o'clock at night, right? So it's not like it's gonna be going on that long.
That was the applicant's stated intention. Yes, sir.
I'll also kind of just, I know that everybody's trying to get more information on this. I'll refer you to the standards of zoning that we're supposed to be considering when we're looking at such a thing. And so when we're talking about site plans or what a building looks like or when it might be operating, I'm not sure that that falls into the purview of this, although it's good information for us to have.
And you can also add conditions where we think they may be relevant.
Certainly.
One additional question. Are there different lighting requirements in the city for office commercial versus general commercial? I mean, can they put up a whole lot more 24-hour bright lighting if they're zone GC versus OC, or are they basically the same? I don't know what our
No, ma'am.
regulations may be.
The only lighting requirements that are different are in the Main Street Overlay District and possibly in the Business Park Overlay District where BIG is.
So they're basically the same, won't be any impact at all versus, because it's already OC, right?
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. I'm going to open up a public hearing relative to application for rezoning Z15-06. Anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time. And when you do, if you would please kindly state your name and your address for our clerk, please.
My name is Elizabeth Edwards. I reside at the property at 144 Plymouth Drive, located directly behind the to-be car wash. And we will state immediately, we're not opposed to the car wash. We do ask that the property stay OC as office commercial with a special condition to allow the car wash. That way in the future, 10, 15 years down the road, if they decide to sell that, we have the opportunity as homeowners and the neighborhood to be able to come back and ask or to listen to any petitions that come after that. That's our first request. We also, we're here in the buffer, and I didn't understand, was it 20 or 25 feet?
25, right?
And we agree with, you know, either an opaque fence with some greenery or at least 2 rows of tightly planted green to keep that from, you know, to keep down the noise pollution and to keep out the riffraff of anybody that might be wandering through. Our other concern was hours of operation. You know, we would like to see that there be limits on early morning and late evening to cut down on loitering as well as noise pollution.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time.
My name's Andy Womack, and I'm the applicant. And during the Planning Commission, all of these same issues came up, and we, just like was stated earlier, we're planning on our hours being 8 to 6. We're not going to be open on Sunday, and we're going to work with engineering. We've already spoken with Wade Wilson a couple of times to work about the drainage and the stormwater and any of those issues that would come up. And also, we've spoken with some of the neighbors, and we can do the exterior anyway. We're more concerned with the internal workings of the tunnel, and if, you know, it was kind of alluded that they would rather see brick, and we have absolutely no problem with that. We're going to be working with, not only with the city and with the ordinance, but also with the nearby neighbors. You know, and as far as the buffer, we have no objections to doing 2 rows of shrubs, not shrubs, but trees or whatever. And in the fact that sometimes they don't live, we would not be opposed to having a fence and 1 row of trees. So we're just trying to be workable and get this thing going. And then, so anyway, I was just going to come and state that. And if there are any questions any of y'all have, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, this is a public hearing for Z15-06. Anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time. And seeing none, I will close the public hearing for Z15-06, and we will take this up for final consideration in our first meeting in November. Thank you. Next item is transformer for the electric department.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The electric department needs a 2500 kVA transformer for our system spare. And we've put this item out for bids. We've received 4 bids back. And the low bidder, we're recommended that the council approve the purchase of the ERMCO transformer, which is it happens to be the lowest unit price, the lowest total ownership cost, and they can get it shipped to us. They're the quickest to have it delivered. So we're recommending the purchase of the low bid from ERMCO.
Okay.
And that price is $28,510.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Any questions or discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Mr. Porter, you've got the next item.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we took bids to take down the old gas maintenance building that was affected by the sinkhole number 2. The initial bid came in $20,950. We had a test for asbestos on that, and there was additional cost to remove the asbestos in the building of $13,500. Total cost is $34,450, and that our portion of that is $10,000 deductible. So, and the cornerstone demolition and grading of Cartersville was the low bidder for that. Recommend approval.
Thank you. Any discussion on this?
Just an FYI, we're making progress on removing the items from the building. We're going to try and see if there's a safe location down there to rebuild that building and use the old building for a maintenance building. We're trying to find safe paths in and out of there, so we're going to have to do quite a bit more exploration, but we haven't decided quite yet that we're ready to abandon that. This is part of the overall plan.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Question. Do we know now that there is asbestos in it?
Yes, we had a testing done, and they came back with asbestos in the roof and also the garage doors.
Because the first quote, they said they didn't know if it was there, but if it was, they'd address it later. But they do know
Right.
that now?
Yes,
He mentioned
we basically had them tested.
the demolition.
Yeah, and he gave us Mr. Porter mentioned it in his presentation a moment ago, but he distributed this to us, which is the additional cost for the asbestos portion, so that's part of it.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Riggs.
Yes, Mayor, this is our 2016 American Public Gas Association dues, and it's $7,307.25, and we recommend approval of the invoice.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Monthly financial report.
Yeah. Just have to refer you to the stuff in your agenda packets.
I did send it to Rebecca, but I didn't make up there.
She's tied up with kids.
Honorable Mayor and Council, tonight we'll be looking at the August 2015 and comparing to August 2014 numbers. In the general fund, revenues increased over last year by about $49,000. Expenses increased by $61,000. This is due mainly to increased personnel expenses. In the three areas of revenue I look at on a monthly basis, local option sales tax, we have a decrease of about $27,000. Police fines and forfeitures, we have an increase of $1,000. And building permits and inspection fees have an increase of about $29,000. In the water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last year by $151,000. Expenses decreased by $94,000, due mainly to decreased capital expenses and decreased debt service expenses. In the gas fund, revenues have decreased over last August by $160,000. Expenses decreased by $754,000, and this is due mainly to decreased cost of purchased gas and decreased capital expenditures. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $730,000. Expenses decreased by $122,000, and this is due mainly to decreased operating expenses and decreased cost of purchasing electricity. Stormwater fund revenues increased over last year by $6,000. Expenses increased by $17,000, and this is due to increased personnel expenses and increased operating expenses. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last year by $7,000, and expenses increased by $7,000, and this is due to increased operating expenses coupled with decreased personnel expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $12,000. Expenses increased by $34,000 due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased debt service expenses.
Any questions, Mr. Reinhardt, for the financial report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before council this evening?
Mayor, there was an item that I spoke to the city manager about, adding an item to the agenda for the criminal justice information department. They would like us to have a form completed by the city, either the city manager or the mayor, and we wanted to get that approval by the city council. Basically, it's the drug task force and the municipal court and the police department have to fill out the same form. It has to be approved by a non-police agency. And we are asking that the city council approve this. Basically, the form is just kind of allows them to use the GCIC, which is the criminal investigation system.
Yeah, add that, and Keith has looked at it, so it's.
Okay, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to add an item to the agenda.
Add to the agenda.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Items added to the agenda.
And yes, Mayor, this is basically a form that we need to have signature by you if the city council approves on 3 different times. Like I said, one for the municipal court, it's the same form, one for the police department, and one for the drug task force agency.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
One other item, as a DDA, I just want to promote the Bluegrass Festival this Saturday, starting at 11 a.m., running to about 9 o'clock. So bring people downtown. It's going to be a good event.
Not at all, thank you. Anybody else wish to come before council and speak? Anyone? So hold on a second. Come on forward. Please state your name and address for our clerk, please.
We can't let him talk.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I'm David Brown. I'm the Senior Vice Commander at the American Legion. And while I'm here tonight, I talked with Chief Culpepper today about putting on a fundraiser for a turkey shoot on our property in November, and he said that I would have to come before the council to get the permission to fire the guns in the city limits. And that's what I'm doing tonight, and he told me if y'all would approve it, that he would meet up there with me, and we would pick out the safest location on the property to do the turkey and ham shoot. And the neighbors around there, I haven't talked with any of them or the church across the street, but I would do that to make sure that this turkey shoot didn't conflict with anything that they had going on in the churches of the community.
Have you got a date in mind for this?
First or second week in November.
Okay. I like the second week in November, because what that'll do, it'll give us an opportunity to speak with the chief and get all this in place, and we can put it on our agenda for our next meeting.
Well, could we get it faster than that? Because we need to advertise it, Mayor. And I talked with the chief today, and he said that y'all met the 1st and 3rd.
Okay.
Are you okay with this, Chief? Come on down.
If he said,
I would have a couple of stipulations. One, I would need to be absolutely sure that, accidents could occur, and that the American Legion had contacted all the surrounding residents and businesses, since that is a more congested area than, say, the Elks Lodge, when they had permission, they've gotten permission to have turkey shoots once a year out there. They have a place that lends itself to it. I don't know without going up there that there is a really a safe place that you could do that, but I'm certainly willing to go up there with them and look and see if we can find some place.
Thank you,
Chief,
sir.
how quickly could you go and see with them?
I can do it Monday.
I mean, the way I look at this, to help them out, you help me here. If I can make a motion to approve it pending the chief's approval, and if the chief says okay, they have the right to do it. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. We don't have a permitted form. When we did this for the Elks Lodge, we just did a motion.
right, but I think we're on the right track with that. If somebody were to make a motion that if it would approve that, and then also stipulate that certainly the chief's approval, notification and approval of neighbors, and any other stipulations you feel like might be prudent, and even going so far as to giving the chief the final approval of all the safety.
I think approval of neighbors may go too far.
Okay.
Because that delegates the final decision to
Notification of neighbors is what.
okay.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Notification.
I may
not
have
approval.
misspoke. I meant to say notification.
Okay.
Okay. I think I got this. Make a motion that the chief had the final say, and if the chief approves, then notification needs to go to all neighbors of when the event's going to happen and exactly how it's going to work out. I don't know if that's it.
Can this notification go by word of mouth? Can I go to the houses there and go to the church across the street and speak with the
Can you write it on a piece of paper and leave it in the,
with a
hand it
letter
to
or
them?
anything?
I suggest we have it in writing.
They've always been very
Why don't you just
limited for the fair. They've never complained about the fair when we have it there.
Yeah. Give the city clerk a letter enumerating everybody that you have spoken with, the neighbors, the church, and noting if there's any disagreements with it, so we can have that a record of that.
Okay.
Does that sound okay? And I'd say you need to do that. Let's put a time limit on it.
Well, I can't make the motion, so you put.
I'm making it, and he's
Within-
everything that he's saying is in my motion.
Let me use that. But I would like to ask David Brown a question. They're not gonna let you shoot up.
Oh, no. I did that years ago.
Take that part out of my motion.
All right, so if you can
I'll
try to
try.
restate that and kind of put that somewhere that poor Connie over there is gonna try to make.
She's right.
I make a motion that we approve pending Chief Culpepper's sign off. And once that's done, that you notify the clerk of whom all you have spoken with as far as all the property owners that are adjacent.
Okay.
I have a question for you. You still have the old ballpark down in the hole?
Yes, we do.
That'd be a good place. Like to go at home plate? It's down.
Well, no, we have several places up there that we have long distances, and our lodge is sitting on a hill, and we've got all this banks down here. We've got and a shotgun. You know, we're 50 yards you're not going to do much damage after that.
Well, thank you for the input. We've got a motion. We've got a motion on the table. We've got a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Anything else to come
Let me say
before?
one more thing. First time I ever went to Hurricane Hollow and went up Pine Mountain, David Brown took me. I just want you to know that.
That's great.
Thank you. I do have one last item that I need to add. Richard Osborne comes right up here and step at this podium here.
I've never been.
Want to congratulate you for, this will be your last meeting with us, and you're heading on to other pastures. And we're proud of you for taking that next step forward in your career, and we want to thank you for your service to the city. You'll be missed, and your contributions were many, and we just want to take a second to thank you.
Still trying to change your mind?
Thank you. Great town, appreciate it.
Well, a lot of times they come back.
If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn. Feel like Joey.